A young newlywed couple wanted to join a church. The pastor told them, "We have special requirements for new parishioners. You must abstain from having sex for 2 weeks." The couple agreed and came back at the end of 2 weeks. The pastor asked them, "Well, were you able to get through the 2 weeks without being intimate?" "Pastor, I'm afraid we were not able to go without sex for the 2 weeks," the young man replied. "What happened?" inquired the pastor. "My wife was reaching for a can of corn on the top shelf and dropped it. When she bent over to pick it up, I was overcome with lust, and we did it right there. You understand, of course, that this means you will not be welcome in our church," stated the pastor. "That's okay," said the young man. "We're not welcome at the grocery store anymore either." 3 sisters decided to get married on the same day to save their parents the expense of separate weddings. As a further step to reduce the price tag, the 3 sisters resolved to spend their honeymoon night at home. Later that night, their mother couldn't sleep, so she went to the kitchen for a cup of tea. On her way, she tiptoed by her oldest daughter's bedroom and heard her screaming. The mother thought to herself, "That's normal, especially on her wedding night." She snuck by her second oldest daughter's room and heard her laughing. "That's normal too," she said, smiling to herself. Finally, she slipped by her youngest daughter's room where she didn't hear a peep, but she thought nothing of it. The next morning, after the husbands had gone out, the woman asked her eldest daughter about last night's noises. "Well, Mom," she replied, "you always said if it hurt, I should scream." "You're absolutely right, sweetheart," the mother assured her, turning to her middle daughter. "Now, why were you laughing?" she asked. "You always said if it tickled, I could laugh," she answered. "True enough, honey." The mother smiled, remembering her newlywed days. "Now it's your turn, baby," she said, turning to her youngest daughter. "Why was it so quiet in your room last night?" "Mom, don't you remember? You always told me never to talk with my mouth full." A washed-up actor hasn't gotten a job in years. He has lost his ability to remember lines. But after looking for work for a very long time, he finally gets the lead role in a Broadway musical. When he arrives at the theater, the director tells him, "You have the most important part, but you only have one line. You walk onto the stage with a rose, bring it close to your nose with your thumb, index, and middle fingers, and sniff it deeply. Then you will say, 'Oh, the smell of my lover.' When it comes time for him to say his line, he walks onto the stage and says, 'Oh, the smell of my lover.' With this, the crowd begins to laugh hysterically and the director explodes with anger. The actor runs off stage and asks, 'Did I forget my lines?' The director replies, 'No. You forgot the flower.'" A doctor was having an affair with his nurse. Shortly afterward, she told him she was pregnant. Not wanting his wife to know, he gave the nurse a sum of money and asked her to go to Italy and have the baby there. "But how will I let you know the baby is born?" she asked. He replied, "Just send me a postcard and write spaghetti on the back. I'll take care of expenses." Not knowing what else to do, the nurse took the money and flew to Italy. 6 months went by, and then one day, the doctor's wife called him at the office and explained, "Dear, you received a very strange postcard in the mail today from Europe, and I don't understand what it means." The doctor said, "Just wait until I get home, and I will explain it to you." Later that evening, the doctor came home, read the postcard, and fell to the floor with a heart attack. Paramedics rushed him to the ER. The lead medic stayed back to comfort the wife. He asked what trauma had precipitated the cardiac arrest, so the wife picked up the card and read, "Spaghetti, spaghetti, 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 2 with sausage and meatballs, 2 without." A man doing market research for the Vaseline company knocked on a door and was greeted by a young woman with 3 small children running around at her feet. "I'm doing some research for Vaseline. Have you ever used the product?" She said, "Yes. My husband and I use it all the time." "If you don't mind my asking," he said, "what do you use it for?" "We use it when we make love," she said. The researcher was a little taken aback. "Usually, people lie to me and say they use it on a child's bicycle chain or to help with a gate hinge. But I know that most people do use it for some bedroom time. Can you tell me exactly how you use it?" The woman said, "I don't mind telling you at all. My husband and I put it on the doorknob and it keeps the kids out." A teacher is teaching a class and she sees that Johnny isn't paying attention, so she asks him, if there are 3 ducks sitting on a fence and you shoot one, how many are left? Johnny says, none. The teacher asks, why? Johnny says, because the shot scared them all off. The teacher says, no, there are 2 left, but I like how you're thinking. Then Johnny asks the teacher, you see 3 women walking out of an ice cream parlor. One is licking her ice cream, one is sucking her ice cream, and one is biting her ice cream. Which one is married? And the teacher responds, the one sucking her ice cream. Johnny says, no, the one with the wedding ring, but I like how you're thinking.
Grandma and Grandpa were visiting their grandkids overnight when Grandpa found a bottle of Viagra in his grandson's medicine cabinet. He asked about using one of the pills. The grandson said, I don't think you should take one. They're very strong and very expensive. How much? Asked Grandpa. $10 a pill, he replied. I don't care, said Grandpa. I'd still like to try one, and before we leave in the morning, I'll put the money under the pillow. Later the next morning, the grandson found $110 under his pillow. He called Grandpa and said, I told you each pill was $10, not $110. I know, said Grandpa. The 100 is from Grandma.
6th grade science teacher Mrs. Sampson asks her class, who can tell me which organ of the human body expands to 10 times its usual size when stimulated? Nobody raises a hand, so she calls on the first student to look her way. Mary, can you tell me which organ of the human body expands to 10 times its usual size when stimulated? Mary stands up, blushing furiously. How dare you ask such a question, she says. I'm going to complain to my parents, who will complain to the principal, who will have you fired. Mrs. Sampson is shocked by Mary's reaction, but undaunted. She asks the class the question again, and this time Sam raises his hand. Yes, Sam, says Mrs. Sampson. Ma'am, the correct answer is the iris of the human eye. Very good, Sam. Thank you. Mrs. Sampson then turns to Mary and says, Mary, I have 3 things to tell you. First, it's clear that you have not done your homework. Second, you have a dirty mind. And third, I fear one day you are going to be sadly disappointed.
A hot blonde walks into a casino and wanders up to one of the craps tables. She looks at the 2 table handlers and says, I want to bet $25,000. It's all the money I have. The only request is that I play topless, as I have found that this provides me the most luck at winning. The 2 men agree and watch anxiously as the woman unbuttons her blouse, removes it, and then removes her bra. She puts the money down on the table and rolls the dice. As the dice stop, she starts jumping up and down, screaming, I won! I won! She gathers her winnings, puts the chips in her bag, pulls on her shirt, and walks out. The 2 men at the table look at each other, and one asks the other, So, what did she roll? The other man says, I thought you were watching.